+1 political science class. Today I will start the topics from class +2's book, but it is in your +1 syllabus. The lesson is 9, Indian Constitution, the Preamble, and the topic of the day is Features of Indian Constitution. The objectives of the lesson are meaning of the preamble, nature of Indian state, objectives of the state, features of Indian constitution, sources of Indian constitution. And the objectives of the day are features of Indian constitution. Students, this covers your pages from 408 to 416. Now, before discussion of these objectives, I will discuss the key features with you. The first key term is simple majority. I will explain it through an example. Suppose today is the finance minister will introduce budget in the Lok Sabha. Budget comes under the category of a routine bill as it is introduced every year. So, the voting supported by more than 50% of the legislatures in the House. In passing the routine bills like budget, government needs simple majority. Have you understood the meaning of simple majority? It means where the government needs simply more than 50%. It can be just 51% only. The second is special majority. The example is, suppose the government wants to change the boundaries of a state of India, like the state of Jammu and Kashmir was divided into two union territories named first is Jammu and Kashmir and second was Ladakh. For this purpose, change was required in the constitution because the names of all states and union territories are written in the constitution. Students, if any state boundaries to be changed, the constitution change is required. Like in 1966 on 1st November, Punjab was divided into Punjab and Haryana. Uttar Pradesh was divided into Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and same way out of Bihar, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand states were taken out. So all these things need a change in the constitution. For this purpose, voting supported by more than 2/3 of the total members or 66% of the members of the House is required. In passing the constitutional amendment bill, the government needs a special majority. Here you can easily understand special majority means 66% and it's not easy. I will talk to you later when I will discuss the topic about it. The next is individual responsibility. The example is, if the railway department is not working well and there is regular news of rail accidents, the railway minister is personally accountable to the prime minister. Students, here I am telling personally accountable to the prime minister. The minister can be changed by the president on the recommendation of the prime minister because the prime minister is to save his government from the public protest. Now, here prime minister is to save his government from the public protest because public will talk to the prime minister. The public will speak against the prime minister. They will not speak against the railway minister. So, naturally, if there are regular rail accidents, the prime minister tell the president to change the railway department minister. The responsibility of each minister is to run his department properly. So, this is individual responsibility. If he doesn't perform it properly, the president may change the minister any time during the term of 5 years of the government. You know, the government is for 5 years. The minister is not for 5 years. Minister is till the time he works properly. He can be changed any time during the 5 years by the president on the recommendation of the prime minister. The president will make changes on the recommendation of the prime minister. The next is collective responsibility. Just now I talked individual responsibility. Now the word has come collective. The government works as a team. We know it's working as a team. If any member fails, then full team fails for the citizens. If anything wrong happens in any department, public will not blame that particular minister. Public will talk against Prime Minister Modi. So the leader is responsible for all the work. He also swims and sinks with them. He finds it better to change his incapable minister rather to sink his government. It's right because public is to talk about the government. Public is not to talk about the minister. So the prime minister finds it better to change the minister because he is to sink with them. For the mistakes of one minister, he will sink, his government will sink. So, all the members of the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible in the legislature, like Lok Sabha. They all must support all governmental decisions made in the cabinet, even if they do not privately agree with them. Students, in Council of Ministers, there are three categories of ministers, that is, cabinet ministers, deputy ministers, and ministers of states. The cabinet ministers come in the core group, and all the decisions are discussed by Prime Minister with the cabinet minister. They have regular meetings. In these meetings, the decisions are taken. So, a minister must agree with it. Privately, they may not agree, but as a team, they are to work together. A vote of no confidence passed against a single minister can dissolve the full government. So, they all swim and sink together. The next term is arbitrary arrest. Now, I will explain it through an example. During India's freedom struggle in 1919, when there were chances of public protest against government decisions, and to handle the situation, the Rowlatt Act was passed. Under it, anyone could be arrested without charge and fundamental freedoms were taken away. Fundamental freedoms were taken away. You have done in class 10. There was a statement: no appeal, no vakil, no dalil. This was under the Rowlatt Act. So it resulted in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre also. So this was during the British rule. Now we have our own government, and the constitution provides us the basic rights. So what are the basic rights? These are the fundamental rights. Now the police cannot keep a person in custody for more than 24 hours without charge or filing FIR. FIR means First Information Report, in which the police writes sections related to the crime. Students, some of the sections, so we all are very familiar with, like if there is a cheating, we say 420. If there is a murder, we say 302. In movies also, we have heard about all this. So this is the role of the police. When police arrest someone, then police makes a charge, makes FIR, and the sections are charged. Without this, the police cannot arrest anyone, police cannot keep anyone more than 24 hours. Otherwise, the police has to release the person. So, when the arrest of an individual in a case in which there is no evidence that he committed a crime against law, or in which there has been no prior due to process of law, there is no proper process of law, means proper process, if there is not, police has kept it more than 24 hours without FIR. So this is arbitrary arrest. Now I will start the discussion of the features of Indian Constitution. I will start with the introduction of the Constitution. Constitution is a set of rules and regulations to be followed by the government of the country. The laws of the land, the rules of the country are for the citizens. But how the government works? Government works according to the Constitution. The Indian Constitution was adopted on 26th November 1949 and was enforced on 26 January 1950. I have discussed about it in detail in the last lecture. Why was it enforced on 26 January? You remember in 1930 on 26 January our demand for complete independence or Purna Swaraj was made. So in several respects the Constitution of India is a unique constitution in its size, mixture of flexibility and rigidity. So Indian constitution is a unique constitution of the world. The attempt of the constitution makers was to give to the nation a workable constitution which is clear through its given features. Students, now I will discuss the features in detail. They are total 12 features. First is written and detailed constitution. Second, preamble of the constitution. Third, India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Fourth, mixture of rigidity and flexibility. Fifth, fundamental rights. Sixth, fundamental duties of the citizens. Seventh, directive principles of state policy. Eighth, bicameral union parliament. Ninth, universal adult suffrage. 10th, single citizenship. 11th, power of judicial review. And 12th, emergency provisions. Now I will discuss all these in detail. The first is written and detailed constitution. Through example, I will discuss. Normally all the constitutions of the world are written, but there is only one country which has unwritten constitution. Great Britain is the only country in the world with unwritten constitution. It doesn't mean that all legislatures have learnt the constitution. Rather, it means that it is scattered in different law books. It is neither compiled in one book nor passed by anybody like Constituent Assembly in India. Yes, the Constitution of Great Britain is taken from different law books. Means that the government knows which law book is to be referred for the Constitution. But it is not compiled in one law book like we have one book that is called the Constitution of India. That is a book and passed by the body that is Constituent Assembly. But Great Britain's constitution is not like this. That is unwritten constitution. On the other hand, the Indian constitution is written form and the lengthiest constitution of the world with 395 articles when it was enforced on 26 January 1950. Now 448 articles after 100 amendments. Now today there are 448 articles. While the constitution of US is very brief with just 7 articles. Yes, there are only 7 articles in USA constitution. It took the Constituent Assembly around 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to write and enact the Constitution. It is the largest constitution of the world. Now next feature is Preamble of the Constitution. Students, just like preface is to the book, in the same way the preamble is to the Constitution. Students, when you open any book, from the first page, you don't find the first chapter. First page is always of the preface, where the purpose of the book is written. Same way, our constitution is a book and it begins with the preamble. The Constitution of India begins with preamble which specifies the nature of the Indian state and the objectives it is committed to secure. The preamble begins with the words, "We the people of India." It means the constitution is adopted by the people of India. So the constitution derives its sovereignty from the people. The preamble is the key to the constitution. It states the nature of the Indian state and the objectives it is committed to secure for the people. So preamble is very important for the constitution. The next feature is India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Students, this topic I have already discussed in the last lecture, but here I will recapitulate it again. Here I have talked about the five terms, that is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. Now India became sovereign on 15th August 1947. You know how India became sovereign on 15th August 1947? As earlier, India had the same population and the territory, but the government was not of Indians and they had no right to decide about its internal and external policies. It means that India was not a sovereign state. You know, sovereign state has its features like it has population, territory, government, and freedom to decide about internal and external policies. So India got all this on 15th August 1947 and India became a sovereign state. So on 15th August 1947, the Indian government became capable to decide about its internal and external policies. I already have discussed with you in the last lecture. Now India is free to decide about its internal policies like our Prime Minister Modi. He converted the state of Jammu Kashmir into two union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. This is his internal policy. No country can object over it. And external policies also he is free to make. Like nowadays he is making good relations with USA. This is his external policy. No country can object over it and he need no approval from any other state. The preamble proclaims and affirms that India is free internally and externally to take her own decisions and implement these in the whole of India. So India is a sovereign state. So first term I have discussed with you, India is a sovereign state. Next is socialist. Now I will talk about socialism. The people of India pay taxes and this money is used by the government for the growth and welfare of India. Now money is taken from people and it is invested on the people. So what is it? It is socialism. The government builds various hospitals, schools, roads, dams, etc. for the benefit of the Indians. Under socialism, India is committed to secure justice to all its people by ending all forms of exploitation and by securing equitable distribution of income, resources, and wealth. This is equitable distribution when hospitals are made, roads are made, dams are made, so we all are using it, we all are getting benefit. So, this word in 1976, the preamble was amended to include the term socialism. It is now a prime feature of the state in India. The next is secular. The India has its national emblem, anthem, song, flower, but not a national religion. Students, have you ever heard about national religion? No, never. No religion has special status in India. There is nothing as state religion. By 42nd Amendment in 1976, the term secular was added to the preamble. Before this, the word secular was not in the constitution. The two terms were added by 42nd Amendment in 1976. First, I have already discussed, that is socialism, and next is secular. Now, the next is democratic. The example is the elections are held in India after every 5 years for local, state, and national governments. Yes, we have three levels of governments. At local level, we elect the councillors and their head becomes a mayor. At state level, we elect the state assembly members and their head becomes a chief minister. And at the national level, we elect the member of parliaments and their head becomes a prime minister. So these governments run the different areas. All the adult citizens elect their government. Adult means above the 18 year. India has been and continues to be a democratic state. No government can remain in power which does not enjoy the confidence of the majority in the legislature. So, India is a democratic state, means they are to enjoy the confidence of the majority, means the ruling party must have more than 50% of the seats in its favor. Then it can be the ruling party. Next is India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. The fifth term is republic. Republic means where head of the state is elected. And who is the head of the state? Tell me. It is President of India. 26th January is celebrated as Republic Day because the head of the state, that is our first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, was appointed on 26th January 1950, and from that day India became a republic state. President is head of the state of India and he is elected indirectly. So India is a republic. He is elected. It doesn't matter he is elected directly or indirectly. Elections are of two types. Our members of parliament and the prime minister all are elected directly. But president is elected indirectly. But he is elected, so India is a republic. Now the next feature is mixture of rigidity and flexibility. Yes, some of the articles need amendment through rigid method and some of the articles of the constitution can be amended very flexibility. Now I will talk about it in detail. There are three methods of amendment of the constitution. The first method is nowadays single party doesn't get even 51% to form the government at the center and party with the highest number shakes hands with other regional parties and forms a coalition government with 51%. Yes, students, these days not even a single party is getting like 51%. What happens? Suppose voting is done, the party with the highest number of seats is just getting 45%. It is near to 51 but not 51. Then what is done? President will call the leader of 45% because that is highest party. That leader is given a time. Some days are given to prove the majority. And he will shake hand with some regional parties. Which are regional parties? For example, from Punjab it is Akali Dal, from Maharashtra it is Shiv Sena, and from Bengal it is Trinamool Congress, like such regional parties. They shake hand with the national party who is not in majority. Otherwise, such regional parties never get a chance to be a part of the national level government. Through coalition government, they also get a chance, so they shake hand with the national level ruling party to make it a ruling party. So it becomes 51%. The manner of election of the president can be amended by two-third majority, means 66% of the members of the parliament. Now this is rigid because two-third majority is very difficult. 66%, it's not easy thing. 51% itself is nowadays party is not getting. How it is possible? They will get 66%. So the manner of election of president can be amended to 66%. So this is rigid method because it is difficult for the ruling party to manage two-third majority in the parliament. The second method is the provisions regarding state high courts can be amended by two-third majority of the members in parliament with ratification by at least half of the state legislatures. means out of total 28 states in India, at least 15 states must approve it. Yes, have you understood? Now in India there are total 28 states and more than half becomes at least 15 states. Now it becomes very rigid method, means in union legislature two-third majority 66%, and then it is sent in the states all over India, and if 15 states approve it, then such amendment can be done. This is very rigid method because it is difficult for ruling party to have two-third majority in parliament, and more than half of the states must have the same party government in states as in the center. Then only it will be approved by state legislatures. Naturally, if in the center there is a BJP, suppose, then if in India 15 states have BJP government, then only that bill will be approved by those states. Otherwise, they will not approve. How will they approve the opposition party's bill? Only the same party ruling in the states will approve. So it is rigid method. Opposing party ruling in states will never approve the ruling party's bill. So it is a rigid method. The next is mixture of rigidity and flexibility. The example is continued. The provisions regarding appointment of judges of the Supreme Court can be amended by simple majority, that is 51% of the total members. So this is simple because this is flexible method because each government has at least 51% of the total members in its favor in the legislature. Because if the parties to make the government, then they need 51%. So this is common, this is flexible method. The next feature is fundamental rights. This you have already done in the junior classes also. There are 6 fundamental rights. That is, first is right to equality, second is right to freedom, third is right against exploitation, fourth is right to freedom of religion, fifth is cultural and educational rights, and sixth is right to constitutional remedies. There is one more right which is no more a fundamental right, that is right to property, which was earlier fundamental right, is now a legal right. Means if there is any harm to the property or anyone captures it illegally, we can't claim it. We can claim it beginning from the subordinate courts of the district, but can't claim it through the High Court or the Supreme Court directly. In the case of fundamental rights, we have this provision to file a writ in the High Court or the Supreme Court. But now right to property is a legal right. It's no more a fundamental right. In case there is a harm to the property, then we need to go to the subordinate courts of the district. So fundamental rights are the basic rights necessary for the development of the Indians. There are total 6 fundamental rights provided by the Constitution of India. Now, next feature is fundamental duties of the citizens of India. Students, at home you have some duties towards your parents, like you must study well. This is your duty towards your parents to show them your loyalty towards them. Same way, you have your duty towards your younger brother and sisters to take their care. These are your duties. Same way, as a citizen, we have some duties towards the government. During national anthem, we should stand straight. We all stand straight when there is a national anthem in our assembly, school assembly. So we are taught all these things. So this is our fundamental duty as a citizen. The next is the national flag should not be used for commercial purposes. The flag should not be used as a part of the costume or uniform. This, I think, again, we have never seen a misuse of national flag for our costumes or anything. The flag should not be dipped to salute any person. Yes, it should not be dipped. Now, it is our duty to respect the constitution and national symbols. The next is like we are to safeguard the public property. The example is the government builds roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, etc., known as the public places. This is a government duty to build all this. But who is to protect all this? We are using, then it's our duty to protect. So Constitution tells us to safeguard the public property. If we are maintaining it, then only it can be saved. Now, the next duty is we use many gadgets or vehicles which release harmful gases and should not be used. We are not to use such harmful gadgets or vehicles. We should work on plantation of trees. This is our fundamental duty. It is our duty to protect the natural environment. Now, the next is directive principles are continued. The next example is the directive principles direct the Indian state to secure for the people adequate means of livelihood, equal pay for equal work, local self-government, protection of interest of weaker sections of the society, etc. So these are the directive principles of state policy. Means that these are the directions to the government to make India welfare state, to do it for the citizens. The directive principles can't be claimed through legal process because these are instructions to the state for securing developmental objectives through its policies. These are for both union as well as for the state governments. Students, fundamental rights can be claimed through filing writs in the High Court or the Supreme Court, but we can't claim directive principles through the court. These are just directions. Next feature is bicameral union parliament. Students, I think so you must have understood from the word bicameral. Bi means two. As you know, uni means one and bi means two. Now, the Lok Sabha is the lower house and directly elected house. You know, after every 5 years, we all adult voters cast our vote. So this house is directly elected house and this is lower house. The tenure of Lok Sabha is 5 years but can be dissolved earlier by the president if the ruling party loses a majority. The president can dissolve it earlier also. And the next house is Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha is the upper house and indirectly elected house which represents the states. You know how it is representing states, how it is indirectly elected? Because in this house, the members are sent from the 28 states. So it represents the states. It is never dissolved as a whole. One third of its members retire after every 2 years, and each member has a term of 6 years. So this house is permanent. House never dissolves. Its members retire. One third of its members retire after every 2 years. It means every member is finishing the term of 6 years. So it becomes bicameral union parliament. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are the two houses. So out of the two houses, Lok Sabha is more powerful than the Rajya Sabha. You know how Lok Sabha is more powerful? Money bill can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. Yes, this is the first power and only it can remove the union cabinet from the office. You know how it removes? You have done in junior classes also by passing the vote of no confidence. Yes, if vote of no confidence is passed in Rajya Sabha, it has no value. But if it is passed in Lok Sabha, then the government is dissolved. This power is in the hand of Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha has two powers which are not given to the Rajya Sabha, that is introduction of money bill and second is passing of no confidence motion. The constitution provides for bicameral legislature at the union level with two houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Each state has its own legislature that can be either unicameral or bicameral in its organization. Yes, we have 28 states. Now, it's not compulsory that each state must have bicameral. They can have unicameral also. Like I tell you, Punjab state is unicameral. It doesn't have bicameral. Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad are the two houses at the state level. But Punjab has only one house, lower house is compulsory, that is Vidhan Sabha, that is unicameral legislature. Some states are unicameral in India and some are bicameral. Next feature is universal adult suffrage. Suffrage means public voting. Now I will clear it through example. All men and women who are citizens of India and above the age of 18 years are eligible to vote in elections. This is adult suffrage. However, it is compulsory that their names must figure in the electoral list. Yes, their record must be there. Then only they can vote. Only then the voters can cast their votes in the elections. So, universal adult suffrage is another feature of democratic India. Now, the next feature is single citizenship. We all are the citizens of India. Yes, we may live in any state of India like Punjab, Gujarat, Bengal, but our citizenship is of India and not of any part of India. That is, we are residents of Punjab, but we are citizens of India. We can change the living area from one state to another without government approval. All the citizens enjoy a common uniform citizenship which provides them equal rights and freedoms. We may live in any part of the country. We are citizens of India and we all enjoy same rights, same freedoms. There is no difference. There is equality. Next feature is power of judicial review. This power is in the hands of the Supreme Court and the High Courts. The Supreme Court determines the constitutional validity of the acts of the legislature and the executive. For this purpose, it exercises the power of judicial review. The Supreme Court can strike down the laws of the Parliament if they are found to be unconstitutional. Yes, constitution, I told you in the beginning, the constitution tells how the government is to work. If suppose government makes any law or makes any order which is not within the limits of the constitution, then who is to check the government? That is, the Supreme Court is to check the union government and High Court can check the state governments also. The constitution is the supreme law of the land. The Supreme Court acts as a guardian of the Constitution. For this purpose, it exercises the power of judicial review. So, have you understand what is judicial review? This is to check the validity of the laws passed by the legislature. And this power is with the Supreme Court to determine the constitutional validity of the acts of the legislature and the executive. The next feature is emergency provisions. Yes, the President of India is empowered to deal with emergencies. The Constitution stipulates three types of emergencies. The first is national emergency that is under Article 352 of the Constitution. Second is constitutional emergency in a state. In a state means one state, that is under Article 356 of the Constitution. And the third type of emergency is financial emergency, that is under Article 360 of the Constitution. Now I will discuss them in detail. The first is national emergency under Article 352 of the Constitution. President Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed announced national emergency under Article 352 of the Constitution because of threat of internal rebellion. Yes, he declared it because of the threat of internal rebellion. You know why was there threat? Because it was declared when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India, and there was a charge against her that she had defrauded the 1971 elections, and it led to the national scandal. In 1975, the Allahabad High Court convicted her and banned her from politics for 6 years. In response, she declared emergency throughout India. The emergency was in effect from June 1975 to March 1977. Yes, students, you know that national emergency, if it is declared due to internal rebellion, it has been declared only one time, that is by Mrs. Indira Gandhi from 1975 to 1977, when Allahabad High Court declared her elections as against the routine, like there were some frauds in her elections, and she was banned to participate in political activities for 6 years. Then she was afraid of some public protest and she declared national emergency. Now, the national emergency is an emergency resulting from war or threat of war against India or from internal rebellion within India. You know, emergency has been declared in India earlier also. That is when there was Indo-China War or Indo-Pak War in 1962 and 1971. That time it was declared due to war. But due to internal rebellion, it was declared only once, that is in 1975. You know what is the effect of this national emergency? In case of national emergency, the federal structure of India becomes unitary, means union government decides everything for the states also. Yes, the state governments are there, but they are get approved everything from the union government. So union structure is there, no federal structure. State governments can't use their powers as given in the constitution. Means state governments don't have now freedom to act in their own way, maybe any party government, and the president can suspend the fundamental freedoms and their enforcement. So this is effect on the common masses. Our fundamental freedoms can also be suspended. This is very worst type of emergency which was once announced by Mrs. Indira Gandhi due to internal rebellion threat. And the next type of emergency is constitutional emergency in a state under Article 356 of the Constitution. You know, after independence, first time this emergency was declared in the state of Punjab in June 1951 due to lawlessness in Punjab. As you know, Punjab is a border state with Pakistan. So there was some lawlessness in Punjab that time due to partition of India. So this emergency was declared in Punjab. This is an emergency resulting from the failure of constitutional machinery in any state. Now, the effect of this emergency is during constitutional emergency in a state, there is no effect on the routine life of the residents of the state. Only the changes in the administration. You know, national emergency, I told you, our fundamental rights can be suspended. But in the emergency due to breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state, there is no change on the routine life of the people. Only changes in the administration. Instead of being administered by the state government, the residents are administered by the national government. The governor, instead of being nominal head, becomes a real head of the state, and the state comes under the union government. Yes, the state now government cannot decide anything on its own. The governor, who is otherwise a nominal head like the President of India, now he becomes a real head and he reports about everything of the state to the center. The next is financial emergency. I told you there are three types of emergency. The third type of emergency is financial emergency. In 1991, USSR was disintegrated into 15 states due to many reasons, and one economic reason was the increased military expenditure over consumer goods expenditure. As that was the time of Cold War, so the USSR had made military alliances with many Eastern European countries. As a result, its military expenditure increased and resulted in bankruptcy of USSR. It was also due to socialism, where private ownership of key areas is not allowed and full economy depends on public sector. Yes, students, the thing was in 1991, USSR disintegrated into 15 states, and because its military expenditure was more due to the Cold War, and there is a socialism, and due to socialism no private ownership was allowed. So there was a big problem in USSR and there was a financial emergency, but this emergency has not yet been declared even once in India. It is not that India is financially a very strong nation. Rather, the thing is that India has mixed economy as its national financial policy. If one sector, either public or private, gets weak, the other sector is there to compensate. Yes, if public sector gets weak, then private sector is there to compensate. If private sector gets weak, then public sector is to compensate. They both work together. Moreover, there are many regional and international organizations like UNO to help developing countries like India in many projects. Like, yes, India takes help from the international organization like UN also. Like our polio project was helped by UNO, WHO, and now India is totally polio free. Our many historical monuments are World Heritage Sites. Means India is helped by such organization in many things, and money is spent by them. So that's why financial emergency has not yet been declared in India. Let's see what is effect of if such emergency is declared in India. In case of financial emergency, there can be reduction of salaries and allowances of all or any class of people serving in the state. This is an emergency resulting from a threat to country's financial stability. The President of India has been empowered to take suitable steps for dealing with these emergencies. So, the President has power to deal with these emergencies. These emergencies are declared by the President of India. Now, students, today I have discussed with you the features of Indian Constitution. All 12 features I have discussed, that is, its written and detailed constitution, preamble of the constitution. India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Then it's a mixture of rigidity and flexibility. Then fundamental rights, fundamental duties of the citizens, directive principles of state policy, then bicameral union parliament, universal adult suffrage, single citizenship, power of judicial review, and emergency provisions. Three types of emergencies I have discussed in detail. Now, the topic related questions are short questions. First is, how is India a secular state? Second, what is meant by saying that India is a republic? Third, what is national emergency? When can it be declared? Fourth is, what is financial emergency? When can it be declared? And The long questions, detailed questions are: discuss the features of the Constitution of India. Second is Constitution of India is truly a liberal democratic constitution. Discuss with reference to its features. Next is how can the Indian Constitution be amended? And the next is what are the different types of emergencies? What are the effects of these emergencies? So students, this is completes your topic. Now you will discuss all do all the questions given here in your video, and watch the video again. So do it well and understand it well. Okay. Now your topic is over.